An estimated 600,000 children with disabilities are out of school. That's according to a 2019 Human Rights Watch article. But the Lucca Support and Care Center in Randburg is bridging this gap by supporting neuro-atypical children from birth to 21 years with their diverse educational, vocational, and functional mobility needs. The center was founded by Alison Moschetta, who struggled for years to find a school for her son. In our social newscast today, hosted by me, Sam Marshall, we have a chat to the founder about the center's ability to operate during this COVID pandemic and how they've had to re-strategize to help children who are in badly need of their services. You're listening to our social newscast brought to you by www.socialtv.ca.za. Alison, thank you very much for your time. Maybe before we even get into the kind of details of the organization, what is the Lucca Foundation?
The Lucca Foundation is a foundation that we opened up to try and support our families of children with various disabilities that are not in a position to be able to come back to the school since COVID. So a lot of our families have lost their jobs and they're not in a financial position to be able to afford to bring their children back into the school.
How and what is the kind of intervention? Because when you read the numbers, it's absolutely crazy. It's an estimated 600,000 children with disabilities who are out of school. So how do you even begin to tackle, which I consider probably to be a crisis? Is it a crisis?
It is a crisis, Sam. I think, it's that principle of trying to eat an elephant, one little bite at a time. Ultimately, prior to COVID, we had 67 children that attended Lucca from various different social backgrounds, where we had children from all sorts of different kinds of abilities that require constant intervention, and that's from a therapy point of view, that's from a learning point of view. Some of our children that are totally immobile, we feed through the tubes, through stomachs. We've got children with trachees. And these are children that require intervention on a daily basis. And when COVID hit, we were in a position where 34 families could not bring their children back to school. They had lost their jobs. And obviously, a lot of our children have got immunity issues. So from a health point of view, that was quite scary for them. And what we're trying to do is a community-based NPO where we are trying to get communities together to try and ensure that we are looking after our disabled children in this country. And I think that's one of my biggest objectives is so many children do not have the care that they require, the intervention. There are so many kids that have got so much potential, and parents just cannot afford to send their children to facilities like us because of the amount of hands-on infrastructure that we require, staff that we require to make sure that we can attend to every one of those child's needs. So COVID has had a massive impact. And our school went from 67 children down to 18 initially. We've gone up now to about 39. But then obviously we've had to be in a position where we start strategizing about fees and how we subsidize these children to come back. And obviously this puts a huge amount of pressure on the operational costs of the facility.
The word strategizing is one of those words that you think of a group of people sitting around a table, but it really belies the amount of sheer energy it goes to rethink an organization. How difficult has it been to re-strategize for those 34 children? Obviously, you're emotionally connected. It's not just something that you're running, but you're deeply affected by it. So how deeply have you as the founders of the organization been affected by the fact that there are these children that couldn't come back?
Absolutely, Sam. I think, the school was opened up obviously for my son. So I've got a 13-year-old little boy who has a genetic condition, and his prognosis at birth obviously was very, very poor. The expectations from our doctors were that he wouldn't walk, he wouldn't talk, he wouldn't be able to do much. And my son is walking, talking, he's busy doing his grade 2. So I think, From a personal point of view, this is my baby. These children that attend Lucca are my children. And that's how I see them. So the intervention and the strategy we've had to put together is, how do we help these parents? How do we help these children? Because the minute the children don't come to intervention on a daily basis, they start regressing. So we have children that have never been in nappies, and after COVID, when one or two of our older kids, and we're talking children in 12 years old, 13 years old, that were actually back in nappies, the regression on the children's muscle strength. And there's so much that goes into dealing with children with different abilities, because it's sensory issues, it's actually feeding issues, it's mobility issues, it's vocational skills-based learning, it's academic learning as well, because it doesn't mean to say because our children have disabilities that there isn't learning potential. So the strategy behind that is, how do we help these children? Because it being so close to my heart, we had to lay off 18 staff at the time as well. And these staff have worked for the last 6 years with our kiddies. So we've had to look at our financials and say, where do we try and cut our operational expenses to try and ensure that we can try and bring some children back at a reduced rate. We've been very, very fortunate that our partnership, Vuma has partnered with us, and it's been absolutely incredible for them to be able to offer us unlimited connectivity for our children that are on site, because without that, we can't run our software programs for these children that are nonverbal, that require different kinds of software interaction that we pay license fees for. And if we don't have connectivity on a constant basis, we've lost them already. 2-3 minutes into a session, we've lost them. So Vuma has been absolutely amazing that have partnered with Lucca to enable us to get that connectivity. We have a program running now for blind children, and all of the infrastructure we require for that is something that we're trying to source through the NPO, braille machines, all those kinds of things. So yes, we've had to work hard to get some strategy together to make sure that we can, obviously not in this position at the point to help 34 families, but even if we're helping 4 families, we've won. And it's a daily thing to get us to that point.
Yeah, and those partnerships are critical. Something as connectivity, I mean, the fact that Vuma's come on board means you now no longer have to pay for that service. So you can put that money onto something else.
Absolutely. I mean, and that is phenomenal, Sam, and I think this is what we're trying to do, to reach out on the NPOs to say, companies, please, please partner, please do something, help our community, help the children in this country that don't get the opportunity to attend facilities and like this or any other one for that matter. But ultimately, that's what the NPO is there for. We're trying to raise funds desperately through a backer buddy called Not See the Able, Not the Label. And, that's going quite slow, but, it's difficult. Everybody's in a difficult position at the moment after COVID, and companies are suffering. So, yes, it is a continual daily battle to make sure that we can meet our ends of what we need to contribute on a monthly basis to keep this facility open.
And then, Alison, very quickly, for those that want to find out more, that want to get involved, that just want to check up on the organization, where can they go?
So they can go to our website, they can go onto Facebook, they can email me personally on my email address. So if you pop onto our Facebook site, all the information is there. There is a connection through to the MPO. You'll see that on the front page. And if you want to Google us, it's Lucca Support and Care Center.
Yeah, and I just want to draw their attention to the fact that Lucca is spelled L.U.C.C.A.
That's correct. So Lucca is my son's name. He is an Italian little boy, and we specifically spelled it differently because he's my special boy, and it stands for Loved, Uplifted, Carefree, Cherished Angels.